Have you ever felt it, that quiet shadow inside you, the one that whispers at everything you love, everything you know, everything that makes you feel alive, might just end? Maybe it's not something you think about all the time, but sometimes it's there, just under the surface, and it can make your chest tighten, make your mind wander in circles. Maybe it's the fear of being gone or being left behind. It touches all of us, whether we like it or not. We grow up seeing life like a story with a clear beginning and a clear ending, birth and death, on and off, like a switch. And we carry this in our hearts, this idea that I exist now, and then someday I won't. But what if that's not the whole story? What if what we think is true, this me that was born and will someday die, isn't exactly how reality works? Maybe it's okay to ask that question. Maybe it's okay to wonder. The Buddha, long ago, pointed to a wisdom that looks right at this, a kind of understanding he called no birth, no death. It's not a rule you have to follow, not a fancy belief. It's more like a gentle way to see life differently and maybe breathe a little easier. See, the fear of ending, it comes from holding on to this idea of a solid I, a self that feels real, permanent, and separate. We think it's our body, or our thoughts, or our memories. But really, look at your body. It changes every day. Cells come and go. Your feelings shift from happy to sad, anxious to calm. Thoughts keep moving, chasing each other. And still we cling. We clutch at these things and say, "This is me. This is who I am." It's so human, isn't it? To hold on, to want something permanent in a world that is always moving. And because we believe in the solid me, the idea of dying feels huge, terrifying. But what if we could take a step back, look gently at this self, and see that it's made of parts that are always changing? Maybe the fear would soften. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's more okay than we thought. If you pause for a moment, notice your breath, your body, the room around you, maybe you'll see something shifting. Life is moving. Always. Nothing stays the same. Maybe that's a little scary. And maybe it's also freeing. Because if nothing is permanent, nothing is lost forever in the way we usually imagine. It's okay to feel uncertain. It's okay to be a little afraid. And it's okay to wonder about what happens next. Maybe that wondering is exactly what opens a door to a softer, gentler way of living, where the fear isn't gone, but doesn't control you, where you can be present here, now, just breathing, just noticing, just being. And if this is your first time here, maybe subscribe to the channel. It's a quiet corner for thinking, for reflecting, for exploring these whispers of life together. No pressure, just being. So take a breath. Maybe close your eyes for a moment. Let yourself sit with this feeling of uncertainty. Let yourself feel a little curious. Maybe in that curiosity, fear begins to loosen. And maybe, just maybe, you can feel a little lighter. Maybe you've noticed already life never stops moving. Things change whether we like it or not. The people we love, the moments we hold dear, the plans we make, they all shift in ways we can't control. Maybe this is scary sometimes, and maybe it's also the doorway to something deeper, something quieter, something freeing. There's a general idea I want to share. You may have heard it called impermanence. It's just a way of noticing that everything changes. Your body, your thoughts, your feelings, even the world around you. Maybe you wake up happy, and a few hours later, you're anxious. Maybe a flower blooms for a day and then fades. Maybe a friendship feels steady and then shifts. It's always moving, always transforming. Nothing stays exactly the same. And that's okay. When you start to see this, maybe a little curiosity begins to grow. Maybe you ask yourself, if everything is always changing, what is it that is really born? What is it that really dies? Maybe birth and death, beginning and ending, aren't exactly the hard stops we thought. Maybe they're just moments in a river that never stops flowing. And then there's another idea, maybe the one that feels hardest to grasp at first. No self. This doesn't mean you're not here. It doesn't mean you don't exist. It just means that the you think is solid, the I you cling to is made up of pieces that are always moving. Your body, your feelings, your thoughts, your awareness, they're always in motion, changing, shifting. Maybe yourself is less like a rock and more like a cloud, drifting, forming, dissolving. Maybe it's okay to be a little amazed by that. And if there's no solid self, maybe that's why life can keep going so gracefully. Maybe that's why things flow the way they do. We can see it in little ways. A smile, a gesture, a kind word. None of these things are fixed, yet they have an effect. A gentle ripple spreads. Cause and effect, energy moving, shaping what comes next. Maybe you felt that ripple yourself. Maybe you've noticed how one small choice, one gentle action, changes your mood or the mood of someone else. Life is full of these ripples. Maybe you can start to see them as a kind of flow, a river of moments, of actions, of choices. And maybe that's where rebirth fits in. Not as some soul flying from one body to another, not as something moving across time, but as a continuation of this flow. The energy of what we do, what we feel, what we plan with our thoughts and intentions, it carries forward, not as a self, not as a thing, but as the unfolding of life itself. Maybe it's like lighting a new candle from an old flame. The flame doesn't jump. It simply inspires a new flame to burn. The flow continues. That's all. And that's enough. Maybe now you're thinking, this is confusing. Maybe it feels strange to let go of the idea of a fixed me. And that's okay. It's meant to feel soft, subtle, a little mysterious. Maybe you can just let it sit there like a quiet thought in the back of your mind, without needing to understand it fully right now. Maybe the understanding comes slowly, like the sun rising. And here's a comforting thought, you're not alone in this. Everyone, in some way, carries the same questions. Fear of ending, fear of being forgotten, fear of loss. Maybe noticing this in yourself is the first step to being gentle with yourself. Maybe it's okay to feel afraid, and maybe it's also okay to just watch that fear, to breathe with it, to notice it shifting as the moments pass. There's a rhythm here, a soft pattern in life, in the way everything appears, changes, and disappears. Maybe when we notice it, we start to see that nothing really starts from nothing. Nothing really ends into nothing. Your breath is a simple example. Inhale, exhale. A rhythm, flowing, continuous. You come and go. Thoughts rise and fall. Feelings appear and fade. Maybe noticing that is enough to begin easing the tension of fear. Maybe it's enough to let a little peace in. And if you're listening quietly, maybe you can take a moment to feel this flow. Notice your body. Notice your breath. Maybe notice one thing that is moving, changing, alive around you. The sky outside, a sound in the room, the gentle touch of your own hands. Everything is changing, and that's okay. Maybe that's even beautiful. Maybe part of this flow is seeing how connected we are. Maybe noticing that your life is not separate from the lives around you. Maybe every choice you make, every small kindness or thought, ripples into the world in ways you may never fully see. Maybe that's where compassion grows naturally, where empathy flows, where understanding softens the edges of fear. And maybe it's okay to let all of this just sit with you, not to solve it, not to fix it, not to figure out completely. Maybe it's just about noticing. Maybe it's just about being here with your life, your thoughts, your feelings, your breath. Maybe it's about allowing yourself to be a part of this flowing river of life without clinging to a solid self, without fearing the changes that always come. If you've made it this far, maybe consider subscribing. Just a soft invitation. No pressure. This is a place to notice, to reflect, to explore life's whispers together. Maybe we'll sit with these thoughts again in the next video, in the next moment. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's more than okay. So breathe. Feel the movement of your body, the rhythm of your thoughts, the gentle flow of life. Maybe in that noticing, you can feel a little lighter. Maybe in that, a little less afraid. Maybe, just maybe, it's enough to begin letting peace in. Maybe now you're noticing something, that life keeps moving, even when we aren't sure what's next. And maybe sometimes we get stuck on the question, if there's no solid self, no permanent I, then what happens after this life? Who or what moves on? Maybe you've asked this before, quietly in your mind, and maybe it's a little scary to sit with that question. That's okay. It's okay to wonder. It's okay to not have all the answers. Here's a gentle way to think about it. Imagine life as a river, always flowing. The water changes, the shapes shift, but the river keeps moving. There's no single drop that stays the same, and yet the river continues. Maybe consciousness works a bit like that, not as a thing that travels, not as a soul jumping from one life to another, but as a stream of energy, a flow of cause and effect. Your actions, your intentions, your thoughts, they create ripples. They plant seeds. And those seeds don't disappear. They keep moving, changing, influencing what comes next. Maybe this feels strange at first. Maybe it feels subtle, hard to pin down. That's okay. Maybe the subtlety is part of the beauty. Think of it like lighting a candle from another candle. The flame doesn't jump. It doesn't leave its source behind. But somehow, the new flame exists. It continues the flow. It's a simple, gentle passing on, not a dramatic transfer of a self or a thing. And maybe that's enough to understand rebirth, not as something moving, but as something flowing. And maybe, just maybe, this is where fear starts to soften. Because if there's no fixed self that must be lost, then death is an annihilation. It's part of the river. It's a transformation. The physical body changes, decomposes, returns to the earth. Elements scatter. Water, air, energy. They return to the world, becoming part of other life. The body is just one temporary form in the endless flow of life. The mind, the thoughts, the feelings, they change too. And yes, the deeper part of consciousness, the energy created by intentions and actions, continues in this flow, not as a person or self, but as a ripple in a river. The last moment of consciousness isn't a traveler. It's like the impression of a seal pressed into soft wax. The seal doesn't move, but the pattern appears in the wax, shaped by what came before. Life continues, because the causes and conditions continue. Maybe you can feel a little relief there. Maybe you could imagine your life not as a fragile thing that could vanish completely, but as part of a larger flow. Maybe you can let yourself breathe a little easier. Maybe it's okay to let go of trying to grab onto who you think you are, and just notice the river moving. And maybe you start to see your choices differently. Each act of kindness, each gentle word, each thoughtful gesture, these are seeds planted in the river. They ripple outward. Maybe you've seen this in your own life. maybe without realizing it. That quiet effect of your actions, that's how life continues, beautifully, softly, endlessly. Sometimes it helps to picture this as light, not a light that exists somewhere far away, not a light that belongs to you alone, but light that flows, spark by spark, from one candle to the next. You don't carry it. It doesn't leave you, but somehow it continues. Somehow, life continues. Maybe it's okay that we can't fully explain it. Maybe it's okay that it feels mysterious. The mystery isn't frightening. It's gentle. It's soft. It invites us to pause, to notice, to feel. Maybe now you can sit with this for a moment. Notice your breath. Notice your body. Notice the world around you. Maybe life feels a little less heavy when you think of it as this flowing, changing river. Maybe fear loses a bit of its grip. Maybe it's enough just to feel the flow, to see that nothing truly starts from nothing and nothing truly ends into nothing. And maybe this is a place to reflect, to see how connected everything is. Your actions touch others. Their actions touch you. A kind word, a small gesture, a soft thought, they ripple outward, always. Maybe that's where compassion grows naturally. Maybe that's where peace begins, quietly, softly, in the way we treat ourselves and others. And if you're here, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Subscribing is a quiet way to come back, to sit with these ideas again, to explore the whispers of life together. No rush, no pressure. Just a soft invitation to notice, to breathe, to be present. So maybe right now, you can let yourself feel the flow. Maybe you can imagine your life as part of this gentle river, ever moving, ever changing. Maybe you can let a little peace in, even as the world keeps shifting around you. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's more than okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe now, you're starting to feel the rhythm of life, the way everything flows, changes, and moves. And maybe you're noticing death isn't some sudden stop. It's not a vanishing act. Maybe death is more like a transformation, a gentle shifting, a part of the river we were talking about. Maybe it's okay to think about it like that. Maybe it's even comforting. Think about your body for a moment. Every part of it, earth, water, fire, air, gradually separates when life ends. The body returns to the world, joining the soil, the water, the air, the energy around us. Nothing disappears. Everything changes form. Maybe you've seen this in nature. A leaf falls, it rots, it feeds the soil. A flower dies and its seeds scatter. Life continues. Nothing truly ends. And maybe it's the same with the mind, with consciousness. The thoughts, the feelings, the usual sense of, I depend on the body and the senses. As the body stops, those things fade. But the deeper stream, the energy of our actions and intentions, continues to flow, not as a person, not as a self, but as life itself moving forward. Maybe it's okay that it's subtle. Maybe it's okay that we can't see it fully. Maybe just knowing there's a flow, a continuation, is enough to ease the fear a little. Maybe you've noticed how science sometimes hints at this too. Matter, energy, they don't just disappear. They change form. Your body, the cells in it, the energy inside, everything transforms. Even modern physics reminds us that the universe is always moving, always changing. Maybe the similarity is comforting. Maybe it feels like the world itself is whispering to you, saying, it's okay, it continues. And yet, science can't fully explain the deep flow of consciousness, the gentle unfolding of intention and energy. That's where this wisdom is subtle. That's where it asks us to pause, to reflect, to feel it ourselves. Maybe it's like listening to a soft melody. You can't see the notes, but you feel them and they move you. Maybe life's flow is like that melody, present, quiet, continuous. Maybe when we look at life this way, the fear begins to soften. Maybe death doesn't feel like an ending. Maybe it's a passing, a returning, a transformation. Maybe the person we think we are, our body, our thoughts, our feelings, isn't lost. Maybe it just becomes part of the bigger flow. And maybe that's enough to let yourself breathe a little easier, to feel a little lighter. And maybe noticing this can change how we live right now. If the fear of ending isn't so sharp, maybe we can open ourselves more fully to present. Maybe we can notice the little things, the warmth of the sun, the sound of a bird, the feeling of your own breath. Maybe we can notice the people around us a little more, with gentleness, with care, without clinging. Maybe life becomes softer, more alive. And maybe part of this is seeing how our actions ripple outward. Each choice we make, every intention we plant, continues to flow in the river of life. Maybe that's rebirth, not as a person traveling from one life to another, but as energy, as influence, as the gentle effect of our actions carrying forward. Maybe this is why kindness matters so much. Maybe this is why compassion is natural. Maybe it's just part of being in the river, part of letting life move without holding too tightly. And maybe it's okay to just sit with this for a moment. Breathe. Feel the flow. Notice your hands, your body, the sounds around you. Maybe fear doesn't vanish completely, and maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it just becomes softer, easier to carry, a shadow beside you rather than a weight pressing down. And if you're here, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Maybe subscribing to the channel is a quiet way to come back, to sit with these ideas again, to explore life and its mysteries together. No rush, no pressure, just gentle curiosity, gentle noticing. So maybe just for now, let yourself feel the flow. Life moving, changing, transforming. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's more than okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe in this noticing, a little peace can enter. Maybe, just maybe, you can feel a little lighter, a little freer, a little more here, right now. Maybe by now, you're beginning to notice something gentle, a little shift inside, a softening of fear. Maybe the idea that life keeps flowing, that nothing truly ends, starts to sink in. And maybe that's the point, just noticing it, feeling it, letting it touch you without needing to solve it. Life is full of change. Birth, aging, sickness, death, meeting, parting, it all comes, whether we like it or not. Maybe the natural instinct is to resist, to cling, to hold tightly to what feels solid. And maybe that's where suffering comes from, the struggle against what is. But maybe there's another way. Maybe we can notice the change, acknowledge it, and still feel calm. Maybe we can move with it instead of against it. Think about a simple moment. You see someone smile. You hear a bird singing. Maybe your thoughts drift. Maybe your feelings shift. All of it is moving, flowing, changing. Maybe it's okay to just sit with that, to notice it without needing to hold on, without needing to grasp it. Maybe that's the start of living without fear. And maybe living without fear isn't about being brave in the way the world usually talks about bravery. Maybe it's quieter. Maybe it's about allowing yourself to feel life fully, even the parts that scare you. Maybe it's about opening your heart gently to what is, without pushing away, without clinging. Maybe that's enough. There's another thing. Notice in the flow of life, the way everything arises and passes, maybe it opens your heart naturally. Maybe empathy grows in the space between moments. Maybe you start to see yourself in others, and others in yourself. Maybe kindness, compassion, and understanding come not as ideas, but as something soft and alive, moving through you. And maybe that's the beauty of this wisdom, not in abstract concepts or complicated words, but in the quiet, subtle way it touches your life. Maybe it's in the way you notice a stranger's smile, the way you pause before reacting, the way you breathe and feel the world for just a moment. Maybe it's in these simple, ordinary things that the deep truth starts to unfold. Maybe you felt the fear of ending before. Maybe the thought of being gone, of losing someone, of being alone. Maybe it pressed down hard. And maybe you can see now, softly, that it doesn't have to feel so heavy. Maybe death isn't a hard stop. Maybe it's a transformation, part of the endless flow. Maybe the self we cling to isn't lost. It was never fixed in the first place. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's enough just to notice that. And maybe noticing this can change the way you live each day. Maybe it helps you let go a little, worry a little less, breathe a little more. Maybe you can be present for the people you love. Maybe you can notice the life around you with more clarity and gentleness. Maybe the small moments, the quiet gestures, the simple breath, the shared laughter start to feel precious in a new way. And maybe part of living fully without fear is about action too. Your choices, your intentions, your kindness, these are the seeds you plant. Maybe they grow quietly, subtly, shaping the world in ways you may never see. Maybe that's a flow of rebirth, not as a soul moving, but as the energy and effect of your life continuing, rippling softly through time. Maybe that's enough to let go of feeling small or powerless. Maybe the river of life carries you gently always, and maybe this is where practice comes in, not as rules or instructions, not as something rigid or heavy, but as simple moments of noticing, breathing, sitting quietly, reflecting gently on life and its impermanence. Maybe even a simple meditation, a pause, a mindful step, a soft awareness of the present moment. These are ways to let the flow move through you, to soften fear, to open your heart. Maybe living without fear is less about achieving something grand and more about noticing, breathing, being here. Maybe it's about allowing life to move, allowing change, allowing yourself to be tender with your own heart. Maybe it's about finding that little space inside, that quiet room where peace can sit even while the river flows outside. And maybe if you've been sitting with this listening, feeling, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Maybe subscribing quietly is a gentle way to return, to explore these ideas together, to walk a little further along this river. No pressure, just soft curiosity, just noticing, just being here. So maybe for now, take a breath. Feel the river moving. Feel the life in your body, in your mind, in the world around you. Maybe fear feels a little lighter. Maybe you can feel a little more at ease. Maybe it's enough to just be here, softly, flowing with life, transforming with life. Maybe it's okay. Maybe by now, you're starting to notice how soft life can feel when we stop holding so tightly. Maybe you can feel that little space inside you, the space where fear doesn't press so hard, where the river of life can move more freely. Maybe it's okay to let yourself stay here for a moment, just noticing, just breathing. Life is always changing, and maybe you felt that in your own body, your own mind. One moment you're happy, the next you're sad. One day your body feels strong, the next day weak. Thoughts rise, feelings shift, always moving, always flowing. Maybe it's okay that things are not permanent. Maybe it's okay that nothing stays exactly the same. And maybe that's where freedom begins. Not in holding on to life, not in trying to control it, but in noticing it, accepting it, allowing it. Maybe fear loses its grip when we see that there's no fixed self to be destroyed. Maybe death isn't a terrifying ending, but a gentle shift, a transformation, a return to the flow. Maybe you can picture this like a breeze through the trees. The leaves move, they change, they fall, they decompose, they feed the earth, and new leaves grow. The breeze is always there, moving, carrying life forward. Maybe your consciousness, your energy, your intentions, they're like the breeze. Not a thing that travels, not a self that moves, but a soft, continuous flow that continues in the world. And maybe noticing this helps us live differently, even in small ways. Maybe we stop clinging to what feels permanent. Maybe we stop fearing loss so sharply. Maybe we open ourselves to the people around us, to the world, to the present moment. Maybe each act of kindness, each gentle word, each mindful breath is part of the flow, part of the river, carrying life onward. Maybe you've noticed how subtle this is. Maybe it doesn't hit like a thunderbolt. Maybe it whispers. And maybe that's why it's so powerful. The gentle awareness, the quiet noticing, the soft understanding. It changes the way we live, slowly, softly, naturally. And maybe there's more. When we see life this way, maybe we begin to understand interconnection. Maybe we see ourselves in others, and others in ourselves. Maybe compassion comes naturally, like a soft light spreading in the dark. Maybe peace begins not as a distant goal, but as a quiet presence in each moment. Maybe fear is still there sometimes, and that's okay. Maybe it rises when change comes, when loss comes, when life moves in ways we can't control. But maybe now it's different. Maybe we can feel it, acknowledge it, and let it pass to the river of life, without clinging, without holding tightly. Maybe it softens on its own, naturally, as we flow with life rather than against it. And maybe we can think about action, too. Every choice we make, every small intention, every act of care, these are the seeds in the river. Maybe they ripple forward, touching others, shaping the future in ways we cannot see. Maybe that's our part in the flow. Maybe that's rebirth, not a self moving from one life to another, but the energy of our actions, flowing forward, changing, transforming, continuing. And maybe practice helps. Not practice as work, not practice as effort, but as gentle noticing, breathing, sitting quietly, reflecting softly on life, death, impermanence, and the flow. Maybe a single mindful breath, a moment of stillness, a kind gesture. These are all ways to feel the river moving within and around us. Maybe it's enough to notice, enough to feel, enough to simply be here. And maybe if you've been sitting with this listening, feeling, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Subscribing quietly is a gentle way to come back, to explore life and its flow together. No rush, no pressure, just a soft invitation, a quiet place to return to when you need it. So maybe just for now, take a deep breath. Feel the river flowing. Feel your body, your mind, your heart moving gently with life. Maybe fear feels lighter. Maybe the world feels softer. Maybe peace is already here, quietly, waiting, always moving with the flow. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe now you're beginning to notice something, the way life keeps moving, even when we feel unsure or afraid. Maybe you can feel in your own body, your own mind, the river flowing, always changing, always carrying life forward. Maybe it's okay to just sit with that feeling for a while. No need to rush. No need to fix anything. Just notice. Just breathe. Sometimes we get caught thinking we need a solid self to protect, a self that could be lost forever. And maybe that's why fear feels so strong, why endings seem so terrifying. But maybe now you can see the self is not fixed. Maybe it's more like a collection of moments, changing thoughts, fleeting feelings, moving breath, and shifting body. Maybe it's okay that there's no permanent me. Maybe that's exactly what allows life to flow so freely. And maybe death isn't ending at all. Maybe it's just a transformation, a gentle shift in the river. The body changes, returns to the earth, joins the elements. The mind's thoughts and feelings settle. And the deeper stream of consciousness, the energy of intentions and actions, continues quietly, like water moving downstream. Maybe it's okay that we can't see it fully. Maybe it's enough to trust the flow, to feel it softly, quietly inside ourselves. Maybe noticing this helps us live differently. Maybe we stop clinging so tightly. Maybe we stop fearing loss so sharply. Maybe we notice the small, simple things, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of wind, the rhythm of our own breath. Maybe life becomes more alive when we stop resisting it, when we let it move without trying to control it. And maybe this flow connects us, not just to ourselves, but to everyone and everything. Maybe our choices ripple outward, softly, quietly, in ways we cannot fully see. A kind word, a gentle gesture, a thoughtful intention. They travel in the river, shaping the world without our needing to watch them. Maybe that's our own little contribution to the flow, our own way of living without fear. Maybe it helps to picture it like this. Each act of kindness, each breath of awareness, each moment of noticing, it's like a spark in the dark. It doesn't need to be large. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just continues. It ripples. It flows. And maybe that's all we need to know. Maybe the rest is mystery, and that's okay. Maybe mystery is part of the beauty. Maybe you've noticed the subtle power of this awareness. Maybe it doesn't hit like a storm. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It moves softly, quietly. And maybe that's exactly why it's so powerful, because it changes life from the inside, one gentle moment at a time. Maybe it softens fear. Maybe it opens the heart. Maybe it allows a little more peace to enter. And maybe we can practice this softly too. Maybe we pause, breathe, notice the world. Maybe we reflect quietly on impermanence, on the flow, on the energy of our actions. Maybe we treat ourselves gently, treat others gently, without needing to judge, without needing to fix anything. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the way to live more fully, more present, more free. And maybe, if you're here listening, feeling, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Maybe subscribing quietly is a gentle way to return, to explore these ideas together, to walk along this river softly, one step at a time. No pressure, no hurry, just a soft invitation, always here. So maybe just for now, let yourself feel the river. Feel the life moving through your body, your mind, your heart. Maybe fear softens. Maybe the world feels lighter. Maybe peace is already here, quietly waiting. Flow with the river, always moving, always transforming. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe now you can feel a little more, the gentle flow of life, the soft rhythm that moves through everything. Maybe it's in the rise and fall of your breath, the subtle shift of your thoughts, the little changes in your feelings. Maybe it's okay to just notice it, to be here with it, without needing to name it or fix it. Just feel it. Just breathe. Sometimes it's easy to get caught in worries, in fear, in thought that something is ending and we might be lost. Maybe you felt that before. Maybe it presses on your chest or makes your mind race. But maybe there's a softer way to see it. Maybe endings are not really endings. Maybe they're just shifts, gentle transformations in the river of life. Maybe the body, the mind, the feelings, they all change, they all flow. And maybe that's natural, and maybe that's okay. And maybe seeing life this way helps us be present in a different way. Maybe we notice small things more, the light on a leaf, the sound of water, the warmth of someone's hand. Maybe we hear a soft laugh and feel it ripple in our chest. Maybe being present doesn't need effort or striving. Maybe it's just soft awareness, like a whisper we can listen to if we slow down, if we breathe, if we notice. Maybe the idea of no fixed self begins to feel less scary now. Maybe it's not nothing. Maybe it's just a flow, a gentle river of thoughts, feelings, sensations, and intentions moving through the world. Maybe it's okay that it's not solid. Maybe it's okay that it's changing. Maybe that's exactly what allows life to move, to grow, to continue in ways we can't always see. Maybe this changes the way we think about our actions, too. Each choice, each gentle word, each act of care, maybe it carries energy forward, softly, quietly. Maybe that's rebirth, not a self traveling from one life to another, but the ripple of what we do, the effect of our presence, continuing in the world. Maybe that's enough to let go of fear, enough to let life flow a little more freely. And maybe noticing this helps us open our hearts. Maybe compassion grows naturally, softly, when we see ourselves in others and others in ourselves. Maybe empathy is not something we need to try to force. It arises when we see the connections, when we feel the flow moving in and around us. Maybe that's where peace begins, not somewhere far away, but quietly in the moments we notice. Maybe it's okay that fear doesn't disappear completely. Maybe it rises sometimes when change comes, when life moves in ways we cannot control. And maybe that's fine. Maybe we can let it be, let it pass, and still feel the river moving, carrying us gently, always forward. Maybe that's a practice, softly noticing, softly letting go, softly allowing life to move without needing to hold too tightly. And maybe this is what we could do every day. Maybe a mindful breath, a gentle pause, a moment of noticing, a soft act of kindness. These are all ways to feel the flow, to live with less fear, to open our hearts more fully. Maybe we don't need more than that. Maybe that's exactly what it means to live without fear. And maybe, if you're here listening, feeling, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Maybe subscribing quietly is a gentle way to return, to explore these ideas together, to walk softly along this river of life. No pressure, no hurry, just soft curiosity, a quiet invitation, always here. So maybe just for now, let yourself rest with the flow. Feel the life moving through your body, your mind, your heart. Maybe fear softens a little. Maybe the world feels lighter, gentler, quieter. Maybe peace is already here, softly waiting, flowing with life, always moving, always transforming. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe now, you're noticing the quiet power in all of this, the gentle rhythm of life, the soft flow that never really stops. Maybe you can feel it in your own body, in the way your breath moves, in the little shifts of thought and feeling. Maybe it's okay to just sit here with that, to let it touch you, to let it be enough for now. Maybe fear still comes sometimes. Maybe it rises when we face change, when we feel loss, when life moves in ways we cannot control. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't need to push it away or fix it. Maybe we can just notice it, like a cloud passing through the sky. Maybe we can let it drift, knowing the river of life continues, quietly, always moving, always carrying us forward. And maybe understanding this changes the way we live each day. Maybe we notice the small things, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of the wind, the laughter of someone we love. Maybe these little moments become more precious because we see that nothing stays the same, that everything flows, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe we can find joy in the movement, in the gentle unfolding of life, even while we feel the sadness or fear that comes naturally. Maybe the self we cling to isn't lost. It was never solid in the first place. Maybe it's okay that it changes, that it flows, that it's never fixed. Maybe that's what allows us to live more fully, more freely. Maybe the river of life is carrying us in ways we don't always see, but we can trust it softly, gently, quietly. And maybe noticing this helps us act differently, too. Maybe every kind word, every gentle gesture, every soft intention carries energy forward. Maybe that's what rebirth really is. Not a self moving from one life to another, but the ripple of our actions, our energy, continuing quietly, subtly, in ways we may never see. Maybe that's enough to soften fear, enough to let life flow a little more freely. Maybe compassion grows naturally when we notice this flow. Maybe we see ourselves in others and others in ourselves. Maybe empathy arises softly, without effort, like a gentle light spreading in a quiet room. Maybe that's where peace begins, not somewhere far away, but here in the present, in the moments we notice, in the moments we breathe. And maybe practice is simple, not effortful, not rigid, not heavy. Maybe it's a mindful breath, a quiet pause, a gentle reflection. Maybe it's noticing your thoughts, your feelings, your body, and the world around you. Maybe it's acting kindly, softly, without expectation. Maybe it's enough to just feel, to notice, to let the river move through you. Maybe the beauty of this understanding is in its simplicity. Maybe it doesn't shout. Maybe it whispers. Maybe it touches life in small, subtle ways, softening fear, opening the heart, letting peace flow quietly. Maybe that's all we need. Maybe it's enough to simply be here, noticing, breathing, living gently, softly, without holding too tightly. And maybe, if you're sitting here listening, feeling, maybe you'd like to stay connected. Maybe subscribing quietly is a gentle way to return, to explore these ideas together, to walk softly along the river of life, one gentle step at a time. No pressure, no hurry, just soft curiosity, a quiet invitation, always here. So maybe just for now, take a breath. Feel the river of life moving in you, around you, through everything. Maybe fear softens a little. Maybe the world feels lighter, gentler. Maybe peace is already here, quietly flowing, always transforming. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. Maybe now, after all this, you can feel it, the quiet, gentle river of life moving through and around you. Maybe you notice how soft it feels when we stop holding on so tightly, when we stop trying to control the flow, when we just let it be. Maybe it's okay to stay here for a moment, just noticing, just breathing, just being. Maybe you realize that life is always changing. Maybe you feel the gentle truth that nothing is fixed, not our bodies, not our thoughts, not our feelings, not even the world itself. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's exactly what allows life to move, to flow, to continue in ways we may never fully see. Maybe endings aren't really endings, but gentle transformations, shifts in the river that carry everything forward. And maybe death isn't an end either. Maybe it's just another step, another soft movement in the flow. The body returns to the earth, the elements blended with the world, the mind's thoughts settling, and the stream of consciousness continues quietly, softly, carrying the energy of intentions, actions, and love, moving gently forward. Maybe that's enough to let go of the fear of annihilation. Maybe that's enough to breathe a little more freely. Maybe understanding this changes the way we live every day. Maybe we notice the little things, the warmth of sunlight on our skin, the laughter of someone we love, the sound of wind in the trees, the rhythm of our own breath. Maybe these moments become more precious, more alive, because we see the flow, the impermanence, the beauty of change. Maybe we can find joy in life even as we acknowledge its fragility. Maybe the self we cling to isn't lost. It was never solid in the first place. Maybe it's okay that it flows, that it changes, that it is not fixed. Maybe that's what allows freedom, what allows love to grow, what allows peace to enter. Maybe the river of life is carrying us gently, quietly, in ways we may never fully understand. But we can trust it. Maybe that's enough. And maybe our actions matter more than we think. Maybe each gentle word, each soft gesture, each mindful choice carries energy forward in the flow. Maybe that's rebirth, not a thing moving, not a self traveling, but the ripple of our presence softly shaping the world. Maybe that's enough to feel a little lighter, a little freer, a little more at peace. Maybe compassion comes naturally when we see the world this way. Maybe we see ourselves in others, and others in ourselves. Maybe empathy grows quietly, like a gentle light spreading softly through the darkness. Maybe peace is not somewhere far away. It's here, in the soft noticing, in the gentle breathing, in the quiet understanding of life's flow. And maybe practice is simple. Maybe it's just noticing the breath, feeling the body, watching thoughts and feelings rise and fall. Maybe it's just a quiet act of kindness, a soft reflection, a gentle pause. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the way we live without fear, softly, gently, fully. And maybe if you've been here listening, feeling, learning, maybe you like to stay connected. Maybe subscribing quietly is a way to return, to explore these ideas together, to walk along this river softly, one gentle step at a time. No pressure, no hurry, just a soft invitation, always here. So maybe just for now, take a deep breath. Feel the river of life moving through you, through everything. Maybe fear softens. Maybe sadness feels lighter. Maybe the world feels softer, gentler. Maybe peace is already here, quietly waiting, flowing, transforming. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's exactly how it's meant to be. And maybe you are exactly where you need to be,